Pressing mayoral candidates on the onslaught of violence plaguing the city.
We should not have to look behind our back.
Their promises on how they'll make Baltimore safe again in tonight's town hall. Mounting demands for answers on how local nonprofits are spending your tax dollars.
This is the most important information from city taxpayers.
The action some are threatening if the city refuses to open its books. Look at this, a man assaulted on camera.
They are terrorizing our residents across the city.
Why is city councilman so frustrated with how these crimes are being handled by police? A woman's car stolen for the second time.
Then next thing you know, the charge is getting dropped.
We make her frustrations heard and question why the suspect isn't facing consequences.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
There are a lot of basic things that I think people have lost sight of what your role is in city government.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala.
I'm Kai Jackson. Mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon joins us for a Fox 45 News Your Voice, Your Future town hall this evening, taking questions from voters about how to make the city safer. We invited Mayor Brandon Scott to be part of this town hall, but he ignored our invitation. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost hosted the town hall. She joins us live right now. So, Mackenzie, what did the panelists say about the crime crisis in Baltimore?
Well, Kai and Mary, a lot, right? And there was a lot about this, and really it comes down to people not feeling safe in their communities. We know homicides and non-fatal shootings are down compared to this time last year, but now we're seeing robberies increase, car thefts skyrocketing, and violent assaults happening in communities all across the city. Sheila Dixon made it clear. She says she wants to tackle violence at every level, not just honing in on reducing homicides and non-fatal shootings, because right now, she says, that doesn't seem to be working.
You can play the number game with murders and numbers of guns you're collecting, but it's about the quality of life for every neighborhood, for every citizen. And you can't ignore that or prioritize quality of life. And that's one of the things, and I know people say you don't want to go on the past, but one of the things we focused on in order to reduce crime, not only with the number of guns off the street and the number of murders reduced, but the quality of life in neighborhoods.
We called an emergency meeting of our community, and about almost 200 people showed up. There were some folks there from the police department that listened to us, but we really didn't get much of a change in the behavior that was taking place. Because there were break-ins and carjackings and car thefts, they were low priority compared to what was going on in the periphery of where we live. But for the residents who pay their taxes and live in their houses, they had fear.
And Mackenzie, you also asked the panelists tonight about Safe Streets. You have been investigating this program for years now. What do they have to say about it and Safe Streets funding in particular?
Yeah, there's a lot of concern about how millions of dollars are being spent. We know from our latest investigation, the program spent hundreds of dollars on shoes to give away to the community and thousands of dollars of federal COVID money to send some Safe Streets workers to Los Angeles for training. The entire panel agreed there needs to be more transparency, especially when it comes to how tax dollars are being spent.
I don't necessarily agree with that philosophy of giving away items in order to get people's trust. I mean, I think it's about giving them the resources for them to either get a job, go back to school, assist them in empowering themselves to make a difference in their lives. I think an audit does need to be done.
Transparency is key. If you have people that are benefiting from tax dollars, then there should be some accountability there.
This idea of identifying one group that's going to come in and fix it, you know, this one group, whether it be Safe Streets or even the police department, that's not going to work.
Now remember, Dixon was the one who brought Safe Streets to Baltimore. She says the program is not operating the way she believes it should be in order to be effective. I did ask her if she would keep the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, MONSE, in place. That's the city agency overseeing the implementation of Safe Streets. She didn't directly answer. Instead, she says it'll have to be evaluated if she's elected. Mary?
And Mackenzie, the panelists also talked a lot about juvenile crime and the juvenile justice laws that are relatively new that many are unhappy with. What's their take on those laws?
Well, whether it's about making adjustments to the current laws or ensuring police and prosecutors understand what's allowed, the panel says lawmakers need to step up. Echoing what we've heard from parents, police, and prosecutors, there's frustration building among community members about juveniles committing more and more violent crime.
The General Assembly needs to come back together sooner than January. And I know that there's been some workshops and meetings to really look at what the current laws look at. We don't want to lock up everybody, but you do have to have accountability.
Legislators need to go on ride-alongs. It used to be back in the day that they would show up with the police and go on ride-alongs and actually see what goes on in the community. Or maybe they need to take a visit out to some of the juvenile detention centers and actually see what's going on.
What we see every day is we're now treating a person that's stealing to survive a loaf of bread the same as we're treating a person that's intentionally arming themselves with a gun and putting a gun in someone's face and taking their belongings.
Now, there was a lot of the juvenile crime discussion tonight, and coming up in about 30 minutes, I'll have what Dixon says she would do if elected as mayor when it comes to pushing lawmakers in Annapolis to make some changes.
Mackenzie, thank you. If you missed tonight's town hall, it will air Saturday at 1 p.m. on MyTV Baltimore, Saturday at 11 p.m. on the CW, and Sunday at midnight right here on Fox 45. You can also stream the entire town hall online right now at foxbaltimore.com.
Crime isn't the only issue facing Baltimore, as the Inspector General's office is raising questions about dysfunction surrounding government spending. A new IG report reveals the city failed to collect more than $44 million in bills over a 12-year period. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker breaks down that report.
It's yet another glaring example of dysfunction in Baltimore City.
We have to make sure that doesn't happen again.
An Inspector General report out today finding the city failed to collect nearly $45 million of debt from 2005 through 2017 from various citywide invoices. Money they'll never be able to collect due to a 3-year statute of limitations. The revelation was uncovered after the OIG received a complaint in February from an independent company alleging the city failed to invoice them for 152 right-of-way permits between 2019 and 2023, a cost of more than $245,000. The Department of Transportation's Permit Division issues the permits, which are required for curb modifications and closures. DOT sends those invoices to the Department of Finance. The payroll division blamed the lack of invoices on the city transitioning to Workday, a new invoice software, and short staffing.
City monies aren't being invoiced or collected on a timely basis. And, with the city, every dollar counts.
Inspector General Isabel Mercedes Cummings says they also investigated a company with a balance of nearly $4 million for permit fees and more than $500,000 in missed utility bills. Finding the company required invoices to be submitted by email, but payroll was sending them to a physical address.
In this particular instance, a lot of it came down to very poor communications. Well, when poor communications end up city losing money, we have to do better.
David Williams with the Taxpayers Protection Alliance says it's unacceptable for the city to leave millions of dollars uncollected, money they're rightfully owed.
This money is gone. This money will never be collected, and the city is now out tens of millions of dollars that they should have collected. This is a repeated problem in Baltimore City, and this is happening because there are people that aren't doing their jobs.
The Director of Finance responded saying they've already taken steps to enhance the billing process and make sure there are no gaps in the future. And the Department of Transportation says they're taking immediate action to improve workflow.
Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Well, this recent IG report adding to a growing list of financial missteps in city government. In June, the city lost out on nearly $11 million in federal funds meant for homeless services. The IG report blamed the issue on improper credentials for people in that office. In September, a report revealed the Baltimore Housing Authority owes more than $8 million in past due water bills. The Housing Authority says the city's system of collecting payments isn't able to take overdue bills, so the money has not been paid back. Earlier this month, the Inspector General supported an audit of the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety Engagement. Mackenzie was just talking about it, suggested by City Councilman Yitzi Schleifer. Now, he says Monzi isn't being held to the same standard as some of the other city programs.
Chauncey is a city agency. It is right here in City Hall, and so an agency like that should just be part of the agencies that are audited. We know it is taxpayer money, and so it doesn't matter, that it's going to a separate entity or a pass-through. It matters where the money's originating from, and the money's originating from the taxpayers' pockets.
Now, one government watchdog is considering a lawsuit against the city if there isn't more transparency surrounding how taxpayer dollars are spent. Fox 45's Jeff Abel joins us live with these concerns. Jeff?
Well, the population may be dwindling, but the city's budget is ballooning, now at $4.4 billion. But try tracking all that money, where it is going, and you could be going to court.
The amount of money is $10,000.
At City Hall, it seems spending
$48 million
is never out of season.
$500,000 per year.
But try figuring out where all those tax dollars are going.
$212,794.
And you could be in for a fight.
They're essentially telling us, sit down, shut up, we'll run things.
At OpenTheBooks.com, Adam Andrzejewski began months ago asking the city for a copy of its checkbook. He wanted to know where every dollar in every city agency has been going.
Who got paid? How much did they receive? And for what purpose?
His Freedom of Information request was similar to the request he's made in hundreds of other U.S. cities.
Chicago, New York City, Philadelphia.
So far, all other cities have complied with his request, but in Baltimore, there was a problem.
Last April, the city finance department produced a city checkbook with the vendor names redacted. And then when we followed up with them, they said that the new city software couldn't produce a proper checkbook.
What he received were documents very similar to these city documents, where many of the names of those who received tax dollars from the city were blacked out. Last month, Andrzejewski went straight to the comptroller's office, where he made the same request, hoping the comptroller would open the city's books without redactions.
It's been ignored. Our follow-up to produce under that request has also been ignored.
Andrzejewski plans to make one final request to the city this week. Then, if the books remain closed, he vows to take his request for public information to a public courtroom.
These are public expenditures, and they should be able to be shown to the public.
Well, the city has yet to detail why it chose to conceal the names of many of its vendors who receive city tax dollars. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. Well, former Mayor Sheila Dixon addressed the idea of transparency during our town hall tonight. She says the public has a right to know what's going on in city government.
I mean, I think we have to be transparent across the board. There's really no reason to hide from the public so that people will know the benefits or the disadvantage in it.
And that brings us to our question of the day. Do you have confidence in Mayor Scott to fix the issues facing our city? So far, 95% of those who voted say no. To make your voice heard, head to foxbaltimore.com/vote.
We're also learning about potential financial troubles in the Maryland Department of Health. A General Assembly audit released today reveals the state hasn't been reimbursed $1.4 billion in expenses at the department. The audit looked into spending between February of 2019 and June of 2022. According to the audit, the department didn't properly account for the $1.4 billion, meaning the federal government won't reimburse the money. The department has since brought in an outside accounting firm to improve its accounting process. Full audit is available at foxbaltimore.com.
And we are seeing another chill setup tonight, but it's not going to be as cold as we started with this morning when we had some frosty numbers. Temperatures in the 50s right now, low to mid 50s generally. We're about 10 degrees warmer than the 38 that we had in Baltimore, BWI this morning. 45 by tomorrow morning here in Baltimore, 56 at Annapolis and 46 at Bel Air. Temperatures Eastern Shore, those were in the mid 30s. They're going to be in the mid to upper 40s by tomorrow morning. And as we head out west, temperatures also in the 40s, but another Goliath recovery. Temperatures warming up once again tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to let you know how high we get in the warming trend and when we could threaten 80. It's in my Weather Authority forecast.
Jonathan, thank you. Coming up next on Fox 45 News at 10, the Republican nominee for House Speaker withdrawing his name after he was chosen, why he stepped down, and some breaking news on his replacement. A Baltimore woman fed up after her car is stolen twice this year, why she says police aren't going after the people responsible for the theft. And one city council member pens a firm letter to the mayor's office after a crime spree hits his district. The dramatic video that spurred his actions right after the break.
We have breaking news on Capitol Hill, where the House GOP has just named its nominee for Speaker, Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson. He was approved after a series of votes whittled the candidates down. Earlier today, Congressman Tom Emmer stepped down after his nomination, citing some pushback from a small group in his party who didn't agree with his voting record.
Baltimore County Police say a teen was shot at a playground in Woodlawn. Happened around 4:30 this afternoon near Edmondson Heights Elementary School. Police say the teen was shot in the chest and taken to a nearby hospital. None of the elementary school students were hurt. Police are still searching for suspects. We'll continue to update you on this investigation online at foxbaltimore.com.
Surveillance video captures the moments leading up to the attack of a man riding a scooter in South Baltimore, part of a disturbing weekend trend across the city. Now, City Council member Eric Costello, who represents that district, is laying out his frustration in a fiery letter to the mayor's office.
Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor joins us live with his response tonight. Rebecca?
Well, according to Councilman Costello, that attack is just one of 49 incidents like it that took place across the city this weekend. He is now demanding that this troubling trend be addressed and those suspects arrested.
Another harrowing overnight attack in South Baltimore caught on home surveillance camera. After nearly hitting a man riding a scooter, 2 cars trap the victim and several suspects jump out, demanding he hand over his phone and wallet. The victim agrees, then darts off as the suspects follow close behind.
I didn't think somebody would rob somebody on a scooter.
It makes me feel like I need to be thinking twice about where I am in the evening.
It comes on the heels of a similar crime spree last week. BPD reporting half a dozen carjackings and armed robberies stretching from Canton to Federal Hill, where a woman screams.
It's scary.
Following an attack on an innocent dog walker, rattling residents.
They need to come up with a tangible plan
to solve this, and it needs to happen quickly.
And Councilman Eric Costello
BPD wasn't aware of that incident.
agrees.
What's wildly frustrating is that citizens across the city are being terrorized, and BPD needs to do something about it.
Costello criticizing BPD for a lack of investigating, claiming after the most recent attack taking place directly beside the highly secured Federal Reserve Bank, detectives never following up with the victim or searching for surveillance video.
It's ridiculous that no one bothered to reach out to either of them to get camera footage. There are HD cameras all over the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond campus.
In a fiery letter sent to Baltimore's Deputy Mayor for Public Safety, Anthony Barksdale, Costello writing, quote, "These violent individuals need to be arrested and this pattern of crimes needs to be ended. Although his trust a tangible plan will be put in place."
I'm confident in Deputy Mayor Barksdale, but I've lost confidence in the administration's ability to manage this problem.
Shaky, along with many of the residents he serves.
I have spent every waking moment over the last 5 days fielding phone calls, text messages, and emails from residents who don't feel safe. People are scared to come out of their home in the middle of broad daylight. That is insane.
We're tired of all the talk and no action.
Now tonight, I also reached out directly to Deputy Barksdale and BPD asking how they plan to address this crime trend and if they have any response to Costello's concerns. But as of news time tonight, I have not heard back. Reporting live in Baltimore City, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Councilman Costello's full letter to Deputy Mayor Barksdale available online right now. You can check it out in this web story at foxbaltimore.com.
Well, today, Maryland's interim school superintendent of schools, Dr. Carrie Wright, took part in her first state school board meeting. This morning, the board welcomed the new interim superintendent. Board President Clarence Crawford announced Dr. Wright has the full support. Wright was previously in charge of Mississippi schools and was announced interim superintendent earlier this month. Her first official day was yesterday, and she says there's a lot to do.
It's really to get a handle on the blueprint and exactly where we are in implementation and each of the aspects that we're responsible for. I also want to hear from outside stakeholders on what some of their interests are. We want to meet with the teachers, we want to meet with the administrators. Superintendent's Association was here today, so that's certainly on my list of things to do, but also get a chance to meet with the legislature and to find out, what they're thinking about for the upcoming legislative session.
While superintendent in Mississippi, Wright is credited with improving student achievement. Under her watch, according to federal testing, fourth grade students went from having some of the lowest test scores to ranking near the middle of the pack, surpassing Maryland. The turnaround is often referred to as the Mississippi Miracle, but she says it was just hard work.
A dime dilemma in Philadelphia making its way here. New details about the Maryland connection to a coin theft from a U.S. Mint truck.
And a Goliath temperature recovery today. Temperature starting off at a almost frosty 38 at BWI. Some folks did have their first frost of the season. Getting to 72 this afternoon, a 34-degree temperature rise. And you know, we may do almost the same thing for tomorrow. Bright skies, nice day. Starts in the 40s. You're going to need some jackets, but you may be able to get rid of those for the afternoon. Actually, I think you will. Highs in the mid-70s, and it gets even warmer yet. I'll let you know we're in the 80s, but it could also come with some rain. My Weather Authority forecast.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, with a nice day on tap tomorrow, a live look over Towson right now. It is very pleasant out there. We'll be right back.
The road through postseason baseball on Fox 45 is sponsored by Johns Hopkins Children's Center.
For those teams not trying to reach Game 1 of the World Series this Friday, it is off-season mode. And for the Orioles, GM Mike Elias will have some free agency and arbitration questions to make this winter, knowing that the looming stress of paying or losing his young talent will come to head in the seasons to come. He does have one mountain of a problem, though, that needs to be addressed first and foremost. The Orioles need a closer for 2024. Felix Bautista will be out all season after Tommy John surgery. So will the Birds place their all-star closer in-house or go elsewhere? What they know they cannot do is patchwork it like they did when Bautista went down at the end of the season.
That is a massive hole. I don't even think we felt it totally, just with the way the games went in after he got hurt. It's going to be tough to replace him. So we're going to bring all of our brain power towards answering that question.
The Orioles do have solid in-house options that will probably get the first look come spring training in February. Yennier Cano, Tyler Wells, or DL Hall, the biggest names.
All right, and the National League crown is up for grabs tonight as the Arizona Diamondbacks and Philadelphia Phillies are locked in a tight Game 7 right now. The D-backs are leading 4-2 in the 7th inning.
And the winner of the game will play the Texas Rangers in the World Series, which starts this Friday, October 27th. You can catch all the action right here on Fox 45.
Coming up at 10:30, a car theft victim says police won't go after juveniles suspected in the crime. Her concerns about young offenders and how panelists at tonight's Fox 45 Town Hall addressed the issue.
I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington. Coming up, details on the latest high-profile person to cut ties with Harvard University over the school's response to the Israel-Hamas war.
We're following three big stories at 10:30. The House GOP has its new nominee for Speaker after a chaotic day on Capitol Hill. why Congressman Tom Emmer withdrew his name after receiving the nomination.
A bitter case of deja vu for a Baltimore City woman who had her car stolen twice within months. Why, she says police told her they can't go after the suspects.
And juvenile crime was the focus of tonight's Fox 45 Your Voice, Your Future town hall. Panelists discuss where they feel the city is falling short in holding young offenders accountable.
And we begin there. Mackenzie Frost hosted our town hall. She joins us now live.
So, Mackenzie, you asked the former mayor if she would use the power of the mayor's office to lobby for change to juvenile justice laws. What did she say?
Yeah, go ahead, Mary. She said she was pretty clear in what she was saying, that there needs to be a mayor who is an advocate for what the city needs. And that's something she says she already has experience doing. But it's not just Dixon saying lawmakers need to address young people who are committing crimes.
I worked hard as former mayor, city council president, going down to Annapolis. It was very effective in helping us reduce crime by having changes done in the legislation. I think what's missing is the leadership to have really qualified individuals who understand the process down in Annapolis.
The reality is, I don't want, never wanted to see our jails filled with children. Never wanted that. But when you don't fund the programs that you have adequately, when you don't provide the monies for the programs that do exist, then the perception is that we're just locking up all the kids. And then you get the type of legislation we got coming out of Annapolis.
And there's a difference between a child in need of services and a child that needs assistance. There's two different things. So to have the law state that we have to force this child to a diversionary program before they're even held accountable for the action. My question is, and it's simply put, who speaks for the victims? At some point, we got to speak for those that are impacted by this.
Tonight's conversation centered around public safety, but there are several other topics important to Baltimore City voters, and we will continue to question leaders and hear from candidates as we get closer to the May primary election. We're live in the studio. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Now, if you missed tonight's town hall, it will air Saturday at 1 p.m. on MyTV Baltimore, Saturday at 11 p.m. on the CW, and Sunday at midnight right here on Fox 45. You can also stream the entire town hall online at foxbaltimore.com. Jason Billingsley, the man arrested in the death of Baltimore Tech CEO Pavel Lapierre, has been indicted by a grand jury. He's accused of crimes in 3 separate cases, including the murder and an arson and rape that occurred a week before Lapierre's death.
Baltimore police are investigating a car stolen while a young child was in the backseat. It happened near Elwood Park. The child is okay because moments after the theft of the car, the child was dropped off near Pulaski Highway by the assailants. Baltimore police say at least one person is now in custody. In Anne Arundel County, a 13-year-old girl arrested for attempted auto theft in the Brooklyn Park neighborhood. Police say once they got to the scene, they found a group of juveniles trying to steal a Hyundai. The kids ran away, but police caught up with that 13-year-old girl. They say she had a screwdriver and a USB cable. Anybody with information is asked to call Anne Arundel County Police.
Car thefts have been a problem across Baltimore this year. City police have reported more than 9,000 car thefts, nearly triple the amount through this time last year. One woman shared her headache with Fox 45 News after her car was stolen twice.
You're taking stuff out from people that's really working hard. I didn't steal to get this vehicle. I worked hard to get it. And I need somebody to be held accountable for it. Whether it's the parents, something has to give.
The woman says teens stole her car, and police told her they couldn't charge the teens because of their age. Fox 45's Amy Simpson shares her frustration with the juvenile justice system.
A victim of auto theft, not once, but twice. Tanika Gaskins catching the second crime on doorbell camera Sunday night. This Baltimore woman tells Fox 45 News she had just recovered her car from the first crime days before.
They constantly just taking the car. I just got it back on the 19th.
Gaskins' car was stolen the first time about 6 weeks ago, back on September 14th. Baltimore police recovering the vehicle that same day, here along North Charles Street. saying officers followed the stolen car into this parking garage.
It was only one way in and one way out, so that's how they got caught by the police.
BPD arresting 2 teen boys that day, a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old.
Really wow.
Gaskin sharing these videos of what her car looked like. A busted tire, ignition, and interior a mess. This victim also sharing some of what investigators allegedly told her.
It was in a high-speed chase. It was involved in a few robberies.
But despite 2 teens being arrested by police, according to this auto theft victim, it's unclear if accountability will come.
And then the other day they told me that they were no longer able to prosecute the case.
This woman telling Fox 45 News she's distraught over all of it.
They had a case against them and things of that nature, and they just told me that because they juveniles, they couldn't really charge them. And that's my problem. Like, it's nothing but juveniles that's out here just happening these kids in Hyundais and just taking them as if it's their cars.
Today, Fox 45 News sending questions to the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office about the pair of teens arrested. How long were these suspects in custody? What charges were these suspects facing? And why were these charges dropped? A spokesperson for the state's attorney's office replying with one line. Due to Maryland's shielding law, we are unable to share information about cases prosecuted in the juvenile system, leaving Gaskins still without a car and without answers. Another resident frustrated over juvenile crime in Baltimore City.
It's like a slap in the face. They can commit these crimes, get put on probation for about a few days, and then next thing you know, the charge is getting dropped, or it's just nobody's being held accountable.
Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
The Biden administration is preparing evacuation plans for thousands of Americans in the Middle East should the Israel-Hamas war escalate. National security spokesman says the U.S. is actively trying to get Americans out of Gaza. He was asked about civilian deaths in Gaza today, offering his sympathies, but saying it is part of war.
This is war. It is combat. It is bloody. It is ugly, and it's going to be messy. And innocent civilians are going to be hurt going forward. I wish I could tell you something different. I wish that wasn't going to happen.
Well, here at home, colleges and universities continue to deal with backlash from those unhappy with their response to the Israel-Hamas war. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins explains.
And I'm happy to report
former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, the latest influential individual to cut ties with Harvard University.
I wrestled with this decision. I didn't take it lightly, but I thought it was important to take a stand.
Hogan withdrawing from the school's fellowship program, calling leadership's failure to forcefully denounce the anti-Israel statement signed by more than 30 student groups a moral stain on the university.
To not come out and forcefully say that this was wrong, and to celebrate and congratulate and cheer for the terrorist acts, I think it was pretty outrageous.
Senator Mitt Romney signing an open letter from Harvard alum to university leadership, slamming what they call a meteoric rise in anti-Semitism on campus.
Big donors with similar grievances continue to close their checkbooks to places like Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania over anti-Semitism on campus.
The University of Pennsylvania dealing with the biggest donor revolt. Mega donor and UPenn alum Mark Rowan writing a piece for Jewish Insider claiming UPenn lost out on more than $150 million in donations last year because of their policies. Anti-Israel protests continue to take over the hallways at Harvard. Liberal commentator Bill Maher adding this take.
There are few, if any, positives to come out of what happened in Israel, but one of them is opening America's eyes to how higher education has become indoctrination into a stew of bad ideas.
A newly published Harvard-Harris poll shows nearly half of college-aged Americans, those between 18 and 24 years old, said they side with Hamas, a designated terrorist organization, over Israel in the conflict. I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
Well, Fox 45 is partnering with Magen David Adom for Sinclair Cares humanitarian relief for Israel. The organization is the Red Cross affiliate providing emergency medical aid for all people in Israel. To help, you can scan that QR code on your screen or go to sinclaircares.com.
Live at Capitol Hill, where Congressman Mike Johnson of Louisiana is the new GOP nominee for House Speaker after Congressman Tom Emmer dropped out of the race right after he was nominated. A small group of Republicans didn't support Emmer because of his voting record. Emmer also faced criticism from former President Trump. Supporters say it'll be hard to come to a conclusion if Republicans, quote, nitpick what they like or don't like about a candidate.
He has a voting record I couldn't support, and most Republicans, conservative Republicans, don't support. I think we need a Speaker of the House that reflects the views of Republican voters, and Republican voters largely support President Trump.
It just seems like, you know, if you disagree with someone on one policy position, like a lot of people disagree with Emmer's position on gay marriage, I guess, that's enough to say you won't support it for Speaker. We can't operate that way.
It is unclear when we can expect a full House vote.
Taking a look now at the Fox box. Top left, we're learning some of the dimes stolen from a U.S. Mint truck near Philadelphia earlier this year were exchanged at ATMs in Maryland. Federal officials say more than $200,000 worth of dimes were stolen and exchanged throughout the Northeast. 4 people have been charged.
Former President Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, says it was his job to help Trump look as wealthy as he wanted. Cohen says he was asked to reverse engineer Trump's assets to make him seem richer than he actually was. Trump says Cohen isn't a reliable witness, and he denies the claims.
Bottom left, the off-duty pilot accused of trying to cut an airplane's engines in midair says he was on psychedelic mushrooms at the time. Alaska Airlines pilot Joseph Emerson faces 83 charges of attempted murder, 1 for each person on board that flight.
A United States senator has been arrested for bringing a gun on an international flight. Washington Senator Jeff Wilson says he realized the gun was in his carry-on mid-flight. He's now questioning TSA as to why the gun wasn't caught when he was screened.
Still ahead, PTSD can be a lifelong issue for many combat veterans. How one group is working to provide some unconventional therapy in tonight's Inside Your World investigates.
And it looks like the bus stop forecast starts perhaps with some heavier jackets, but those will be gone by the afternoon as we go back into the 70s. So make sure you scrawl your kids' names on the tag of the jacket so they don't lose it. I'm going to let you know when we can have temperatures up into the 80s in my Weather Authority forecast.